Welcome back to Harmony Yoga. Today's practice, we're going to be using some props. Props are meant to enhance your practice, so I'm going to tell you ahead of time what we're going to use so you can pause the video and go grab what you need to be able to help you. So a block can, if you've got a yoga block, that's great. Otherwise, you can use a couple stacked books. Even a chair can be helpful if this practice is new to you and you need even more of a lift up off the ground. So what the block or a chair might do is help bring the floor up to you so you don't have to reach so far to the floor. Because that really can be counterproductive in your practice if you're overstretching, overreaching, over-efforting, right? So we want to help create ease in the practice. That's why we call this Harmony Yoga. We want it to be in harmony with what you believe, how your body operates. We want to bring harmony and not disrupt the body to create dis-ease. We want to create ease, right? Okay, so that's the block. A strap, you can use a regular yoga belt, but you can also use just a bathrobe belt or a regular belt, anything that's going to help extend the arm. And I'll show you a little bit later how we use that. And then lastly, I'm sitting up on an actual bolster, but you can take any blanket and fold it to create a little bit of a lift, and then you're simply just gonna sit on that. So what it does is it helps lift your hips, lets your knees fall open a little more easily, right? We're creating that ease. Sometimes I'm just gonna push this bolster out of the way, and sometimes what happens, it may not be too visual here because it's black on black on black, but let me try this white here so you can see. Right now my hips are on the floor, my knees are higher than the hips, the low back kind of starts to flatten, and maybe you can see the heart start to sink. So especially if your hips are tighter, if this is a new practice to you, you might even want to take the blanket with the block. Watch what happens here. I'll just do one and then the other. But even with just a block here, notice now my hips are higher than my knees, the low back can come in and up, and the heart lifts. Can you see that? So we start to create that harmony in the body. We create that alignment that the body really responds to very quickly. When we get it in proper alignment, then the muscles can do what we're asking them to do. So this little blanket is a little bit flat, but it still works for me. The hips and the knees, at least the knees aren't higher than the hips. But watch what happens when I add. So we're just adding to the height here and moving the hips back. So now look how high I am. And then the hips just come over the front of the block, the low back, doesn't overly push forward, right? But there starts to begin that curve, and the heart can lift, and we can sit so much more comfortably than if we're sitting directly on the floor. You can also do this beginning practice sitting up on a chair, but in the same way, in fact, I'm going to take an opportunity to show you this as long as I've got a chair here handy. Watch what happens if I sit in the middle of the chair. Well, I'm kind of on and off here. So if I sit in the middle of the chair, again, my back can flatten, the heart can kind of sink down. If I sit at the very front of the chair, the low back lifts, the heart lifts. This is a perfect place to meditate. If your feet don't naturally come to the floor, guess what? You've got a little block here. You can place your feet on the block. That's a great way to do that. The same thing can be true if you sit all the way back onto the chair. Now my short legs are really going to need that block. If you sit all the way back into the chair, again now the low back lifts, the heart lifts, and this is a perfect place to sit to meditate. So you need not begin every class sitting on the floor if that doesn't feel good to you, because we do want to take a couple minutes to center. And so if you're really struggling to get comfortable in your seated position, that's not going to be very enticing to you to keep practicing, right? So make yourself comfortable. We create that ease. Make sure I didn't get this chair in the frame there. All right, so when we do connect with our breath, so I'm just going to sit up on the block now, and hopefully you've gathered the props that you need, and then you've got them handy. You can kind of move them off the mat for now, and then you'll have them handy when we need them for practice. So when we talk about a breath meditation, it actually uses the natural rhythms of the breath and the regular movement of the abdomen as a means to focus your awareness and rid you of extraneous thoughts. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say most all of us today probably have some extraneous thoughts that take us away from that center of peace. So focusing on the breath just brings us back, right? We take that scattered energy, we take that agitation, we take the fear factor, we take all of that and come back to that place of peace. No matter what happens today, we're going to be able to come back to our place of peace, ridding us of our extraneous thoughts. So as you concentrate on the breath, the chaos within actually reveals itself. So kind of good news, bad news, right? The good news is that you're not alone. The bad news is that can feel kind of a turnoff, right? Like, wow, if I just stay busy, I don't feel that the inner chaos. I love how they say that here in this article, the inner chaos. But once you know you're not alone, once you know that's happening, the more you let that go, you'll find that place of peace. So as that inner chaos reveals itself, it allows you to gently train your mind to accept stillness as its natural states. You'll start to shift from the chaos to stillness. And then when you start to feel maybe a little more chaos, you'll really crave coming back to the stillness. And that stillness is available to you at any time, whether it's in the morning, taking a few minutes throughout the day, or even right before bed. Those are all great times to come back to that place of stillness. So, taking this comfortable cross-legged position, we've already talked about the multiple ways that you can find comfort and ease in the pose. Sitting cross-legged, sitting up on a chair. What we do want to do, though, is maintain this upright, balanced posture to ensure that you're physically centered, and it actually prevents fatigue, because when we start to fold forward, now the bones are not doing their job because the muscles are, the bones are out of alignment, so the muscles are really having to tense to keep you upright. So this way, if we come upright, we engage the alignment, and we let the muscles soften. And then simply close the eyes, reaching up through the crown of the head. So we find this balanced posture so that we're physically centered. With the eyes closed, relax your body gradually, starting at the toes and ending at the crown of the head. So taking your time, and as you go, note any physical sensations you're feeling, such as the hardness of the floor under your legs, or the weight of a piece of jewelry. And when you are relaxed, breathe through the nose at a natural pace. Yourself from the toes, through the legs, the hips, the back, the chest, the hands and the arms, all the way up to the neck and the head. With each inhalation, draw the air deep into the abdomen, allowing the area surrounding your navel to rise and fall. So letting the belly be gentle and expansive, ebbing and flowing with the breath. Gently focus your attention on the sensation caused by the inhalation and the exhalation of the breath. Feel the air flowing in and out of the nostrils, as well as the expansion and contraction of the abdomen. As you continue with the breath, notice if your mind begins to stray. And when this occurs, it's important that we don't attach any significance to the thoughts. Simply bring the attention back to the flow of the air in and out of your body and the rise and fall of your navel. And And eventually the torrent of mental noise flooding your mind will slow to a trickle. You will learn to control the current of your thoughts until you are no longer at the mercy of your reactions. And the more you practice this meditation daily, if possible, the more you will be able to get back to this relaxed state easily throughout your day. I know this is true because there are times I'm better at this practice than others. And when I get back to it, it takes me just a little bit to get into it, and then it's as if the muscle memory takes over. You've been here, you've created the neural pathways in the brain around this practice. Gently open your eyes when you're ready, and we'll begin our physical movement. So if you're like me and you start this yoga practice and you think, okay, what is this business with the breath? I just want to get to moving the body because that feels so good, right? When you're tight and you do some yoga, it feels really good. But really pairing it with that breath meditation is really where the benefit really is enhanced. So for every moment that you spend in a breath meditation, you will make up for that time sometime throughout the day. So don't skip it. Don't miss the opportunity to really do yourself a huge favor. Because what can happen when we're in that go, go, go state all of the time, you've got a different set of hormones that are flowing through your body. And some of those really are not working to your benefit, right? Too much of that, that's called the stress reaction in your body, that can cause inflammation. It can cause a lot of things that can be reversed, really is the best way to say that. When you come to that rest, digest, that peaceful side of the nervous system, it promotes other hormones that are much more healthy for the body. So we know that we can't stay in that stress mode very long. And so why not proactively come to this state of peace through a breath meditation? So that's just such a gift, so don't skip it. All right, so today we're going to start out with this progressing from one form of the pose to another. But we're going to start lifting the arms on the inhale and exhaling, letting the arms float back down. Inhale again. So now we're moving that breath meditation into the body, and exhaling, bringing the right hand down, left arm up to the sky. Push the left hip down so you create that space all the way from the left shoulder through the left hip, and even looking up under the right or under the left armpit. Take one deep breath in. Rise as you exhale, come over to the other side, pushing the right hip down, looking under the right armpit. And take a deep breath in and rise. This time we're going to do one breath per movement. So exhaling over and inhaling up, exhaling over. Let's do one more time. Inhale up, exhale over. Good, and one more time to the other side. Inhaling up, exhaling over. This time as we inhale up, create that long side body, turn the torso, exhale, right or left hand to right knee, right hand behind you, turning. Staying here for a cycle of breath. So inhale deeply, pulling the low back in, lifting the heart, exhaling, come back to center. And then inhale, let's create that long side body again, reaching up, and then exhaling, coming down. Inhale, lift the low back, lift the heart, exhale, turn. Inhaling again, and exhaling back to center. So this time we're going to go one breath each. So inhale, and exhale, inhale, exhale. Let's do one more time each side. Inhale, exhale forward, inhale, lifting up, and exhale back to center. Now grab the knees in any position that you're in, grabbing the knees and drawing the spine forward. So the spine begins at the base of the skull and goes down to the tailbone. So it's as if the spine, the skull and the tailbone are moving back, but the whole rest of the spine is curving forward. So we've already curved it right and left, we've twisted it right and left, and now we're going to bend it forward and back. This time add the breath. Inhale. And exhale. So now the spine and the tailbone move forward as you bend the spine back. Let's go one more time. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. Nice job. Move to all fours. Let's take the block to the front of the mat, or whatever you were sitting on. Go ahead and move it out of the way. And then come down to all fours. So spread the fingers wide. Bring the shoulders over the wrists, knees right under the hips, and reach the right leg back, pushing the heel back. So you're really stretching through the back of the leg. And then maybe you stay here, maybe you progress by drawing the belly button up toward the spine, pushing the hands into the earth. Maybe you lift the left knee up off the ground. I'm kind of in a little modified down dog here. Slowly come back down. Extend the left leg back, toes curled under. So we initiate the breath into the lower leg by inhaling, imagining you've got a lung all the way down into your calf, sending the breath there. Maybe you stay here, or maybe you start to scoop the tailbone, draw the belly button back, push into the hands, begin to lift the right leg, the right knee off the floor. All right, so we're going to start with our first progression here. You can go right back to what you just did, right? Stepping the leg back. Maybe you start to lift the right knee off the floor, and maybe you want to progress and take the left foot all the way across in front of the right leg over to the right side of the body. Maybe you stay here, maybe you swivel the right heel down and reach the right arm up to the sky, right? So basically, you are listening to the body, what feels right for you. Coming back now, take a child's pose. Hips move back to the heels. Knees can be as broad as you want them to be, or they can be closer together, resting the forehead on the floor, your block, or your stacked arms. Extending the arms out in front. Come back now. This time, we're going to lengthen the left leg back. Again, you can stay right here. You can come into that modified down dog, or you can extend the right foot over to the left side of the body. So you're on the little toe side of the foot. You can stay here, pushing the hips back, or you can swivel the left heel down, push down through the right arm, left arm up to the sky. Staying with a long, slow, steady breath, reaching the hand down, coming back to all fours. Now, curling the right toes under, take the left toes, still curled under, but out to the left side of your mat, maybe even off the side of the mat. And then outstretch the right foot. Push down through the left hand, and don't let this hand collapse down. I can tell you it's really important to push down into the fingertips. Draw the energy up that arm, move the shoulder back as you reach the right arm over the head. So now can you feel that stretch all through the right side of the body? Staying here, or you can progress to lifting the leg and extending through the fingertips and the toes on that right side. Yes, good. Reach down. So same thing, other side. Right toes come to the side. Left foot extends down, and I'm really pressing into the earth in order to rebound that energy up the arm. Rotate the shoulder back, and take the left arm over the head, so stretching up through the left side. Then you're going to add a little more load here on the whole right side if you lift the left leg. So you decide what you're ready for here, extending through the left fingertips and the toes. So notice how my hips are stacked. This is a really hard thing to do if your hips aren't stacked. It's hard to balance this way. So I'm opening the heart, opening the gaze, stacking the hips. Good, and release back down. Okay, let's come into a short down dog and then slowly walk your feet forward, bending your knees as you need to come into your first forward fold. Now, this is where the block or a chair can become handy. You can always bend your knees. There's multiple ways to modify here, bringing the floor up to you or bending the knees. Either way, if you are a little more flexible in the hamstrings, maybe your fingertips can come to the floor. But I can tell you, if you push too hard, too fast, that's not going to feel good in the low back. So keeping that low back in and up, then you decide what your forward fold is going to look like here. Maybe this feels good, especially getting started here today. Good, and inhale, push down through the feet, reach all the way up to the sky, bring the hands to the heart. Big breath in, exhale out. Inhale, lift the arms up to the sky, and exhale, come down to the front of your mat, into your forward fold again. And you can play around with what props you're going to use here. Inhale, lift halfway up, and exhale down. Bend both knees, reach out with your fingertips now onto the floor, so set your props aside. Shift your weight onto your left foot, and inhale, pick up your right foot. Push through the left foot and extend the energy all the way up your right leg. Draw your nose toward your left knee. And then as you bring the right foot down, place it behind into the left side of your left foot. Now you may need the prop again here because this is really intense up into the left leg, so it might feel better with the prop. And then shift your hips side to side and just notice what you might feel here. Good, and step the right leg back. Press into the right fingertips. Reach the left arm up to the sky for twisted lunge. Inhale, shift the hip back, begin to straighten the leg as far as it feels comfortable, and exhale, bend. Do that again. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bend. So we're just progressing here with the breath. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Bring the fingertips out to the right side of your left foot and separate the fingertips. Release your head and your heart toward the floor here. Keep your hips lifted. You're welcome to point your left toes out to the left side of the mat a little bit at a 45-degree angle. And maybe you want to play around with bending and straightening here. It might be a very subtle movement, but match it with the breath. Let's go one more time. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Good. Walk your hands around. Step back to down dog. Feet or hips width apart or wider. If that feels better for you to go a little bit wider, feel free. Press into the fingertips. Lift the sitting bones toward the sky. Drag the heels back. And then we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So that means we need to bring the right foot forward. Keep dragging it forward until it gets right up between your hands. Press down through the left fingertips. Bring the right arm up to the sky. And inhale, begin to move the hip back. You may find a big difference here between your right and left side, and that's okay. We're going to work with what you've got. Inhaling back, exhaling forward. And one more time. Exhale down. This time bring your hands to the left side of your right foot. Separate your fingertips. Leave your hips lifted. Let your heart and head come down. And remember, you can point the toes out to the side if that feels a little better. And then play around with bending and straightening. Inhaling, straightening. Exhale, bend. And you may notice your range of motion changes with every new inhale. Your body's becoming familiar with what you're asking of it. Walk yourself around, step the back foot forward, come into your forward fold. Come onto your fingertips again, bend both knees, shift your weight over onto your right foot, pick up your left foot. And then as you send that energy down through the right leg into the right foot, lift the left leg up toward the sky and bring your nose towards your knee. And as you release, place the left foot on the outside of the right foot. Again, using your block if you need it. Good. Inhale and rise, unhook your feet, and come back to standing with me. Inhale, bring your arms up to the sky, and exhale. We're going to go back to what we did at the beginning of class, but this time from a standing position. So using the breath, inhale up, exhale over, and we'll do one more time each side. Nice job. Good. As you come forward, release the hands. And this time what we're going to do for the gentle standing twist, inhaling, bringing the left hand to the heart, exhaling, taking the right hand behind you. So the feet are facing forward, and you come back to center, exhaling out the other side. So inhale forward, switch the hands, exhale. This is a great rejuvenating posture that's super simple to do in the middle of the day that kind of can bring you back to the stillness. Good. Bend your knees, bring your hands to the top of your thighs, and inhale, draw the spine forward with the head and the tailbone back, and then exhale, round. The tail comes forward, the spine, the top of the spine drops. And inhale, let's do one more. Inhale and exhale. Good, and come to standing. So if you've moved away from the front of your mat, please go back to that area and inhale, lift your arms up to the sky, and exhale, come down again, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway up, and exhale, release down. Inhale, step the left leg back to deep lunge, and you're going to be here on your fingertips. On your fingertips here, inhale, begin to straighten the front leg. Exhale, bend. Inhale back. Exhale forward. And one more time here. Inhale back. Your leg doesn't need to straighten all the way. You're just creating a little range of motion here. And then draw your hands up your front knee. Move your hips out to the right. That's the inner spiral, so pushing the inner thighs that way. The base of the spine comes down, so you can find this comfortable place to be upright. You can always keep your hands on your thigh. You can have a chair for balance, or you can join me by bringing both hands up to the sky and exhaling, drawing the elbows back. Do that again. Inhale up, exhale down. And one more time, we're going to progress here in a minute. Inhale up. You can always come back to what feels more comfortable, or you can join me by straightening the front leg and bending the front leg. Bending and straightening the arms as well. So straightening the arms, straightening the leg, exhale, bending, and one more time here. Nice job. Bring your hands down to the mat. Step back to top of a push-up position. The modification would be to bring the knees down, but notice we're not in an all-fours position. Our hands are forward, so that as we bring the shoulders forward, there's not as much load on the knees as there is load on the hands. Long side body, melt the heart toward the earth, bend the elbows, slowly lower down. Now, of course, you can do that with straight legs. I want to just show you that modification. So if you're used to doing the plank, down to chaturanga, onto the floor. Now watch my shoulders. Again, this might be weird with black on black. Maybe I can bring a little white in here to show you. So if I'm not mindful, the shoulder starts to drop and it's shearing on the shoulder. So we're going to create a long side body and rotate the shoulder up and away from the floor. Hopefully there's a visual there. Press down through the tops of the feet. Press the elbows in by the side. Drag the hands back. Notice my elbows are still very bent. I'm not pushing into my hands here. I'm coming into a little cobra, so I'm really using the muscles of the back. Exhale down. Rotate the shoulders up and away again. Press the elbows in. Drag the hands back. Press down through the tops of the feet. Good, and exhale, release. Curl the toes under. Lift back to downward facing dog. Finding ease in your posture here, maybe bending the knees. But regardless, I want you to be pressing into the fingertips, elongating the arms and hugging the arms together. Then if you lift up through the sitting bones and that feels comfortable, go for it. If you need that extra modification for tight hamstrings, by all means, bend your knees. Let's take one more breath here. Nice job. Bring the left foot all the way forward. And we'll go through that same set of sequence, or the same sequence here on this side. So inhale, inhaling back, Inhale back, straightening the leg, and exhale forward. Inhale back, exhale forward. The breath can help us with that range of motion. If you focus more on the breath than trying to, push through something that would not be beneficial for you, focusing on the breath. Then bring your hands upright to the knee. Move the hips out to the left. Scoop the base of the tail down. Inhale, arms up to the sky. We'll go through the sequence here where we're inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, straightening. Exhaling, bending. We'll do one more here. This time we're going to inhale, straighten the front leg, straighten the arms, and exhale, bend. You can go back to any part of the sequence that feels right for you if this doesn't feel good in the body today. Good, and one more, and we stay. Pause. Bring the hands down. Step forward, forward fold. Good. Bring the hands to the hips, elbows to the sky. Inhale and rise. So now let's go ahead and grab the strap and we'll go into a little balance posture here. There is a couple different ways we can do this. So let me just show you. You have options, right? So you can progress. You can find what feels comfortable for you. So let me show you without the strap for just a second. You simply can just hold your knee here. In all cases, we want to be engaged in the foot, so lifting and separating the toes, pulling the low back in, dropping the tailbone down, and then we can take it out to the side, right? So we can simply do that by just holding on to the knee, okay? And what I have discovered is really anything that you're doing standing on one leg is really accomplishing the task. So it almost doesn't matter what you're doing. But of course we can build the challenge, right? That's the whole thing about yoga. We can continue to challenge ourselves. But if you're just getting started, simply standing on one leg, whatever you're doing with the other leg doesn't really matter. The fact is the work is happening on that standing leg, right? Now, the other way we can do this is with the strap. And how I like to start out is stepping the ball of the foot on the strap. Left toes are going to be facing forward. The strap is on the ball of the foot here. I'll show you that. And you see that's right across the ball. So as I extend into the foot, I'm extending into the strap. So the tendency is to put it here, but then I'm not creating the same effect. So we want to go to the ball of the foot, and then I like to say hand over hand, pull the strap as close as you can to you. You may not get all the way down to the foot, and that's okay. And then we're going to hug everything in, hugging the knee in, like you've got an imaginary line that bisects you from the top to the bottom, and you're going to hug into that line. And then we can straighten to the side, right? So we can go that way, or we can, if we don't have the strap and we want to advance a little bit, then it's really important the standing foot is facing forward, thighs back, so that the low back starts to curve, and then the base of the spine moves down. That helps give us a little more power in that standing leg. Then take your peace fingers and grab around your big toe. Again, we're going to hug in, right? It's all the same. Whether you've got your knee, the strap, or the big toe, join me in one of those, standing on the left leg, picking up the right, and then extending the right leg forward or keeping it bent, whatever feels right for you today. We're going to progress at your pace, and then you can take it out to the side. Can you stay with the breath? Even if you're in kind of a tricky position, notice how your breath wants to just stop because you want to hold. We want to keep breathing, right? Through everything going on in our world today, we want to keep breathing, right? And the tendency is to just want to lock down, get upset. That moves us into that stress phase, right? So we want to keep breathing. So join me on the second side. So whether you've got your strap, your knee, or if you've got your peace fingers grabbing a hold of the big toe, regardless, we're going to move the thighs back, scoop the tailbone down, standing tall, lifting the heart, reaching up through the crown of the head. And wherever you are, stay there, staying with the breath, coming out to the side if you like. Again, thighs back, scoop the tailbone, reaching up through the crown of the head. Coming out of the posture whenever you're ready. I normally like to give you a little bit of time there, because if you just got into the posture, maybe it took you 3 times. That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. I do that all the time. I bobble and notice that I can kind of giggle about it and come back into the posture. And once you get it, though, you want to stay there, and I don't ever want to interrupt you from that. So join me now. Just place your things off to the side, and we're going to come into a deep squat. And what that looks like from the side, well, let me do it this way from the front. It's harder to do it with your feet together. It's a little bit easier if you step apart and take your feet out to the side. And then reaching the hands forward, bending the knees, moving the thighs back, then you can come into this deep squat. And notice my torso is between my thighs. Bringing the hands together, pressing the upper arm against the shins, really. And this is a wonderful stretch for the low back, a great hip opener. And you can stay here, or again, if you want to progress, bring your feet in a little bit. Now, there's another clue I can show you. If this is hard for you, and you have a blanket, I'm going to even double this up. You can step your heels on the blanket and come into the posture this way. So that helps. You have the benefit still of pressing your heels down, but it's a little modification this way. And then you can say, oh, maybe I don't need that. Okay. Then slowly, can you bring your heels down without falling down onto the ground? But when you do, go ahead and lower down onto your back, or onto your hips, I should say. And I'm going to show you one more posture that we can modify so that you can progress as you like. And what we're going to start out with, to cross the right ankle over the left knee, engage the toes on both feet, grab the shin, and notice how by doing that I'm pulling the low back in and lifting the heart. Notice I can accomplish the same thing by sitting my hips up on a blanket. So now that's why you've got your blanket, so that you can sit your hips up and find a little more freedom. Really, that's kind of the name of the game. That's what we're looking for, is finding the freedom in the body. So there's no reason to put yourself into a position that doesn't feel like freedom, right? We're working together to progress in a natural, harmonious way. All right, so that may feel like a hip opener to you. Maybe you don't need the blanket. You can remove that, bringing the hands behind you in either case, drawing that foot in toward you. Again, lifting and separating the toes on the top foot is a nice hip opener on the right side. The other way we can do this is by coming onto our back, interlacing the hands around the left hamstring. Straightening the left leg or keeping that leg bent, you can play around with that, see what version of that feels best for you. And then actively press the ankle and the knee toward one another, and then release. And let's sit ourselves up again. We'll go to the other side. So the right leg is straight, left ankle crosses over the knee. Lift and separate the toes. And this might be your posture right here. Or you can press your hands back behind you, walk that foot in, and lift the heart. So if you can see my back at this point, I'm not hunched over. I'm trying to lift through the upper back, lifting through the heart. And that is actually going to get deeper into the left hip. Lift and separate the toes, press the knee and the ankle together. If you like that version or you like the one on the floor or both, interlace your hands then behind the right hamstring and the right leg can straighten. Pressing the knee and the ankle together, I'm attempting to lift the low back up off the floor. Trying to move the butt toward the earth and create some space in the low back. It may not really feel like you're going very far, but remember, it's the action. It's not always what it looks like, it's the action. So that's why we normally don't practice yoga with the mirror, because I don't say, you gotta make it look like this, but the action within the posture is what matters. And we'll be talking more about that as we go on here. Good, and releasing. Hugging both knees into the chest, rocking yourself here side to side. And then take both knees over to the right. And you can either take your blanket, or let me show you this version. I'm going to show you a couple versions here. So you can always, pause the video, get yourself situated, but I'm just going to show you. I'm going to do this with the strap. And I'm going to create a little bit of tension here with the strap. So as I pull on it, it doesn't come apart. And if you have trouble with your strap, you can tie a knot in it, or if you have one of these straps and you can't quite get it where it has tension on it, private message me and I can show you how to do that. So now you've got all three props here. So let's start out not using the strap at the moment. It's just around your waist. Now as you come over with the knees to the right, you can place a block between your knees, a block under your knees, the blanket between your knees, or maybe you need none of that, right? You come all the way to the floor. The left arm is going to reach up and over, and then I'm going to turn my head and look over the left shoulder. But maybe that feels better for you to have something to press into. The other version here is to wrap the strap around your knees and then make it taut. So I'm trying to figure out how to, there we go. So the knees are going to come out to the right, just like we were, left hand out to the left. But with this strap creating a little bit of boundary, it helps me expand a little more fully. Slowly come up, both knees up and over to the other side. Again, you can use the strap or you can use the block or the blanket. Even if you needed to, a blanket under your shoulder, if that feels better. If your shoulder doesn't readily come to the floor, you can use a little something under your shoulder. But notice if I put something under my knee, let's bring this up a little bit, then the shoulder comes to the floor more easily. That's probably a better way to do it. Let the shoulder come to the floor and prop up the knees as you need to. Good, and then eventually maybe the knees come to the floor and the shoulders on the floor. There's a gentle spinal twist that's so powerful. Good, coming back up then, just release the knees, drop the strap if you happen to have that on, and let's move into our Shavasana position. So I'm going to move my little ponytail holder out of the way so the back of my skull can rest onto the floor. So I'm not straining, the chin isn't projecting up, but it's also not tucked. So I want to create that breathing passageway there by allowing the back of the head to press, then press the elbows down, walk the shoulders together, palms face up toward the sky, And then I like to start with bringing the big toes together and walking the heels out as far as I can. That's the inner spiral. Then leave the heels where they are and just open the toes out to the sides. Finding that breath again. If you remember at the beginning of our class today, we talked about the expansion of the navel area with the breath. So inhaling, expanding. Exhaling, letting go. If that's new to you, don't worry, it'll come in time. I remember myself that I kind of had it backwards. I thought I was sucking the belly in on the inhale and puffing out on the exhale. So I was a little bit backwards, but that's not the only thing I'm backwards on in my life, right? Sometimes that just happens where we have it, but we may have it a little bit in a backward state. So inhaling, puffing through. So really what you're doing is pulling the diaphragm down, and the breath puffs up. And then we exhale, the diaphragm comes back up. We're going back and forth here. So inhaling, exhaling. Let your breath come into a natural rhythm. You recall at the beginning of class, we also talked about what happens when we start to notice the chaos that might be going on within. Maybe you've noticed the mental chatter has slowed, it's quieted. That's what our physical asana yoga practice can do for us. It helps move our awareness into the body, into the breath, and away from the chattering of the mind. Because ultimately you are not your mind, right? Your mind is an organ like all the other organs that you have, and we notice we don't really identify with other organs like we do quite with the brain. So let the brain just do its thinking, but by taking your awareness to other parts of the body, that chatter starts to diminish. The volume starts to lower. Now we can focus on the heart, focus on the breath. And that's what our world needs more of. Letting go, doing our best and letting go of the outcome. Letting go of the attachment to the outcome of anything you might be waiting for, knowing that peace will still exist. Peace and tranquility, equilibrium, equanimity, all of those things are there for you to plug into at any time. Our yoga practice encourages us to make choices that will actually serve us. Taking one more deep breath in and exhaling, releasing. Begin to move the fingers and the toes, and then hug the knees into the chest. Now, of course, it's always your option, since you're watching a video, it's always your option to stay in the Shavasana position as long as you like. Hugging the knees into the chest, and then pushing the knees away. Feel the low back lift up off the floor. One more time, inhaling the knees to the chest, the low back flattens, and exhaling, pushing the knees away. As the knees come back in, now this time roll onto your right side. And again, you can use the blanket or the block under your head. We stay here as a gentle way to get the body to assimilate to an upright posture. We pause in the sideways position. And taking the left hand, pressing into the floor, coming upright sideways. That's great for the back, it's great for the central nervous system. So coming up into this upright position, grabbing what you need to sit on. Don't forget you might have the strap around your torso. Don't trip on it when you get up, right? Okay, so we're lifting the low back, lifting the heart, and then bringing the hands to the heart center. Taking the thumbs, pressing them into the heart, and the heart back into the thumbs. Closing the eyes for one more deep inhale. And exhale. Fold over in gratitude for this practice and the body that you have that can get into all of these positions with ease. Thank you for joining me today. Bless you.